Hello, and welcome to our adventures here on Shuttlecraft TDI. We are currently headed towards Fort George, where we will explore ghosts and many other spiritual phenomena. Here aboard our luxuriously spaced craft, we have Randy, we have Brad, we have Ricky, and of course, our camera person, Amanda. As we cruise along our ship, we wonder about what actually might be out there and all the joyous things that might lead to everyone's death.
Do we have anyone here tonight who actually believes in that kind of thing? Anybody believe in ghosts here this evening? All right, a lot of hands in the air, a lot of people kind of going, oh, other people's hand is up. Some people still going, no, too damn cold, too damn cold. Well, whatever your beliefs, whether you believe in ghosts, whether you wished you believed in ghosts, whether you wished you didn't believe in ghosts, or whether you're one of those sitting on the fence, can't quite decide, skeptics, I don't care. You are welcome to whatever beliefs you happen to come here with. Some of you are wrong, but you're still welcome to whatever beliefs you happen to come.
Obviously, we're here.
Probably by this point, if you're anything like other groups we've had here, you've probably recovered from that overwhelming sense of awe and amazement that you were overcome with back there in the parking lot when you discovered that Niagara-on-the-Lake is the most haunted town in Canada. Probably by this time, you know, you've thought it through and realized, what else would the guy in the cape be saying at the beginning of a ghost tour? So I'm sure there's some of you here that are checking your watches going, okay, yeah, guy in the cape giving us some story about most haunted town in Canada. But I mean, we've been now on this tour for like 3.5 minutes, haven't seen a single ghost anywhere. So the question on the top of most of your minds would probably be, oh, where are these alleged ghosts here in town? Well, when we're talking ghosts, I guess it makes sense to start with certainly the most popularized ghost in town. That would be the ghost at the Angel Inn. Little yellow tavern just off the side of Main Street, Niagara-on-the-Lake, home to a fellow by the name of Captain Swayze, who is allegedly a British militia officer who fought here during the War of 1812. And when the American Army came stomping through here at the end of May 1813, well, I guess this guy decided that trying to hide was a much better idea than attempting to run away. Sadly, however, this wisdom did not carry through to picking a good hiding place. Because believe me, when soldiers are looking for you, hiding between the keg of ale and the cask of wine is a really dumb idea. So obviously the American soldiers found his cunning hiding place, roughed him up, and ultimately left his body there to rot in the cellar of the inn. Now in the 2 centuries since, it seems fairly regularly there at the Angel Inn that a red-coated gentleman has been seen lurking about the place. And when I use the term gentleman, I use it in its loosest fashion possible, because most commonly when this fellow is spotted, well, it happens to be in the women's bathroom downstairs. So maybe it gives you a little bit of insight into the moral fiber of the British officer corps. Certainly if you can't find him down there, you'll find him where you'll find any good soldier, right upstairs by the bar.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
What you can see of the fort from here, before it gets too dark, little gray building off on Sloanson, off to your right, is the guardhouse at the fort. It's kind of a security desk within a fort. So it's where the sentries were posted out of, where anybody visiting Fort George would have to check in and state their purpose for being here. Directly behind me, straight along the path in front of you, the yellow building is the officers' quarters. It's where the rich guys that were in command of the garrison, that's where they got to stay. And if you weren't one of those rich guys, you were in one of these large gray buildings in a row, which were split between housing for the soldiers. Sadly tried to catch an American rifle bullet at the Battle of Queenston Heights using his chest. He ended up rather dead. And as a consequence, they buried him here at Fort George. Also buried here was another fellow, a Canadian, by the name of John MacDonald, who met about the same fate as the good general about 45 minutes later. Now they're no longer still here. In 1824 they were dug up, and in a big military parade they were marched up to the battlefield at Queenston Heights, and with all the pomp and circumstance of a military funeral, they were buried under a big stone monument up there. And if any of you grew up in Niagara, you know Brock's Monument. It's the final destination of every grade 7 field trip, and the teachers get the kids to run up and down the monument so that they're exhausted getting back on the bus. Isaac Brock was one of maybe 3 white guys through all of history who have been adopted into the local Indian nations. The natives of the local area very much respected this man. He died at Queenston Heights as an honorary Iroquois war chief. So when this act of terrorism blew up his monument, well, the local native population, not as apathetic as all the white people here, that they were a little more vocal. Given the day after the explosion, a Sauk chief laid a curse upon the long knives who would defile the grave of a brave warrior. And in 20th century speak, you can read long knives as Americans. But in my first year of doing tours, I had a group of almost all Americans. We came up here. There was these two fellows, I think they were from Pennsylvania or something, kind of nattered on as I gave my stories here. And as we turned to go, I guess the one guy got hunkered down here behind the tombstone and was making boogeyman faces as the other guy took pictures, and they both giggled like madmen. Now, in the interest of international cooperation, I didn't say anything. But in now 11 years of ghost tours, those are the only two people I've ever had who have managed to fall out of a bastion while on the tour. Was that an Indian curse at work? I don't know for sure. I didn't hear ominous laughter or war drums or see tenuous green vapors or anything like that. But at the time I was trying rather hard not to laugh out loud. And regardless of your nationality, you do want to watch your step on the ramp down. Now, for those folks that have really been paying attention, you're probably wondering why I never said anything about this building when we stopped at the gate. Well, mainly it's because this building really shouldn't be here. It's not part of the 1796 construction here at Fort George. It is, however, on the most part, an original building. It was built after the War of 1812 and moved in here in the 1930s, basically just to keep it standing. Going through 20 years of ghostly history at Fort George, we couldn't find a single spooky thing to say about this one. Happily, though, that didn't mean that it wasn't a cool addition to the tour. Because back then, okay, the window to the left of the door, that's got the half curtain across it, well, back then, there was a light that was left on in that room, and in the far back corner, there was a display cabinet with a mannequin inside, dressed in the red uniform of a British militiaman, which was just awesome for the tours. Because on the way in, nobody noticed the light, but on the way out, you know, tromping along the path, headed for the gates, usually be people at the back of the tour, kind of stumbling along in the dark. They'd look off to their left, they'd look off to their right, see a red-coated soldier staring out of the window at them. You know, they'd take 2 steps before they realized what it was they'd seen. But in those 2 steps, you lose the angle. So you look back, nothing. Fabulous. These people would come slinking up to the front of the group, right? Psst, psst, Kyle, is there like a painting or a mannequin or something in there? Oh yeah, red-coated soldier. Yeah, just a mannequin. But should have seen your face. Fort George is not a good example of a fortification of the day. I'm sure that, you know, it only takes a couple seconds thought to realize, a fort made out of wood, terribly allergic to fire, which is why the stone fort on the other side of the river survived, and wooden Fort George, not so much. So Fort George historically was more of a supply base, and then they suddenly went, oh, there's going to be a war? Oh, we better finish the wall then. Lower floors of these 3 buildings generally used as storage for all the equipment that the British Army needed here in Niagara, as well as storage for all the equipment and supplies that the British Army needed for every post west of here. Upper floors were generally used as for the living quarters because, frankly, it's a lot easier to drag a soldier upstairs than a big barrel full of flour or nails or gunpowder or whatnot. We're going to move into the next room where you can get a sense of what the upper floors of these buildings, the living quarters, would have been all about, which means that we do have to make our trek sort of around the corner and through the doorway. Oh, no, not the flash. Wait a little bit longer for people to clean the area, please. Just on the other side of the bed there. You want a chance to sit down anyway. That's going to help me really well. Welcome to the soldiers' barracks. The living quarters for the soldiers. As your eyes become adjusted to the gloom here, you should be able to make out the bunk beds around the perimeter of the room here. You had children that were born into this room. They grew up here. This is the only home they ever knew. They took their first steps here. They said their first words over there. They got kissed for the first time here within these walls. They fell in love, got married, had children of their own right here where we are tonight. People smiled here. People laughed here. And I think it would be a terrible shame if we forgot about them. Now, going hand in hand with all those positive life experiences, there certainly wasn't any lack of the rough times. I mean, you had parents here waiting, wondering whether their children would survive the dysentery, the cholera, pneumonia, typhus, influenza, a lot of things that we can head off to the hospital, get a needle in the arm, and feel better in a week or two, were fairly fatal back then. Almost 1 in 5 of the children born into this room would not live to see their 5th birthday. 1 in 5. Now, as a military establishment, I guess you had added complications. Kids here waiting for Dad to come home from the Battle of Queenston Heights, waiting for him to come through the door, to smile, grab them up in a big hug, spin them around in circles. But Dad might come hobbling in on crutches. Dad might be carried in by a bunch of his buddies. Or Daddy might not be coming home at all. Ever. That just as people smiled here, just as people laughed here, people suffered and people died. Here in this building, in this room. Language they speak, no matter the culture or the religion, you will find that we all have a game that we have in common. And that is the reach out, tap you on the shoulder, run away, and laugh when you turn the wrong way game. You know it. We all play. But no matter what language you speak, no matter what country you may be in, you'll find that we play the game the same. Reach out, tap you on the shoulder, run away. So I find it rather curious that our friend here plays by different rules. You can reach out and tug the jacket of the guy standing at the door and be gone in the time it takes him to turn around. And good luck running away without being noticed on these wooden floors. So something strange was happening. I suppose the tour guide figured that out. I try as much as possible to draw upon the experiences of ghost tourists that have gone before you. As I mentioned, that we do spend a fair amount of time at the end of tours, speaking to people about their experiences. Now, about 6 years ago now, I chatted for about a half an hour at the end of the tour with these three little old ladies, two of whom had been through Fort George before. They'd come through during the day. This would have been about 30 years ago. They came through the fort during the day. They went through the tunnel here, and upon exiting from the tunnel, I guess the one woman had remarked, "Oh, I suppose we should find a staff member and let them know that a fuse is blown, what with all the lights out." Well, the woman that was with her, "What are you talking about? It's plain as day. The lights are still on." So this first woman looked a little more carefully, and indeed she could see that the first 3 sets of lights were lit, but beyond that, her view of the back of the tunnel was obscured by what she describes as a solid mass of shadow, a cloud of darkness that filled the back of the tunnel and was slowly boiling its way out towards her. And as she watched, from this darkness, 3 figures stepped forward, figures of men with tall black hats, much like the shako caps worn by both British and American soldiers who fought and died here. Well, seeing these things coming towards her, she turned about, headed for the front gates just as fast as her legs could take her. 25 years later, she returned to Fort George for a ghost tour. And when she realized, when we got to the tunnel here, when she realized that she'd been here before, when she realized that we would be going into the tunnel, well, needless to say, she was somewhat apprehensive. But at the same time, I mean, it's 25 years later, there's 30 other people around, what could possibly happen? She only made it 3 steps into the tunnel before she could feel these entities closing in around her. So she took those 3 steps right back out again to wait for us out here. So if anyone else makes the same decision, I'm not going to be insulted. I know that a lot of people do have problems with the tunnel, with the darkness, with the confined space, with the bats.
What's that? What's your name?
Keep walking so you can't go any further.
There are the coveted staircase seats. Now, for those at the back of the group, really there's nothing to see up here. Small stone alcove, there's a wooden staircase that spirals up, leading to a toaster. No. Not kitchen appliances up there. Leading to a 2-story lookout tower, which is actually located outside the walls of Fort George. And to be honest, probably the best seats in the house are actually at the back of the group, because you can look back the way we came, and even with the missing moon tonight, you should still have enough light that you can make out the tunnel entrance there. Kind of a bluey-gray rectangle of not quite darkness there at the end. I feel it only fair that the folks who stumbled in darkness on the way in have benefit of the light on the way out. And for you city folk who don't know what real dark is all about.
Oh God, no. Let's have flashlights versus.
We're going.
Sorry.
I can see.
I'm being an innocent.
No, what he's like.
Is there someone behind us?
I have no idea. No.
Keep going.
What's the matter? Oh.
Jesus. I thought there was something behind it.
There's a cool breeze.
Maybe it's close.
Oh, it's cool. Okay, do you want light?
Jeff thought you were fine. What scared me?
I'm good for light. Or are you
I'm
taping?
just taking mine. Alright, let's not straggle.
We can come up with a couple of good guesses. The building, this building here, the building's behind most of you. If you come through during the day, you'll find that it's set up as a craftsman shop. There's a carpentry section, there's a blacksmith shop, a whole lot of lovely antique tools in there. And historically, that was not the case. Back then, this was the hospital at Fort George. 60-bed hospital with a surgery attached. And if you are at all familiar with 1812 medical practices, well, you wouldn't be too surprised to find some of the tools that today are hanging up in our carpentry shop also hanging up in that surgeon room. Now, I encourage folks to take a peek through the windows here. That the officers' quarters, where the rich guys that commanded the garrison, this is where they got to live. You can see at a glance that no matter what century you happen to live in. But under these two side windows, if you look out toward the front of the building from here, you'll be able to make out the real point of interest in the steps. It's 24. He died at Queenston Heights as an honorary Iroquois war chief. So when this act of terror... He died at Queenston Heights as an honorary Iroquois war chief. So... the bed there. Go on. Sit down. Below. It's down on the street and it's trying hard to force the flow. Oh, my heart's in the basement, my weekends at an all-time low. Cause she's hoping to score, so I can't see her letting him go. Walk out of her heart, walk out of her mind. Oh, not her. She's so swishy in her satin and tan, in her frock coat and bibbidi-bobbidi hat. Oh God, I could do better than that. Oh yeah. She's an old-time
ambassador, sweet talking night walking games. Oh, and she's known in the darkest clubs for pushing ahead of the dames. If she says she can't do it, then she can't do it. She don't make false claims. But she's a queen, and such a queen that your laughter is sucked in the brains. Now she's leading them on, and she'll lay it right down. Yes, she's leading them on, and she'll lay it right down. But it could have been me, yes, it could have been me. Why didn't I say, why didn't I say? Now, she's so pushy and I'm shining and trying. In the box, oh, the bibbidi-bobbidi hide. Oh, but I could do better than that. So I lay down a while.
Don't want any more beer.
Okay, we're at the Angel Inn. Ricky's going to check on reservations. Let's go. Go,
Let's
Ricky,
go, Ricky. Let's
go.
go.
Well, no, let's think about this logically. It's 10 to...
America. Fuck yeah.
I'm not supposed to sing or do anything.
Let me die.
Owning a cab, 'cause my stomach feels small. It's the taste of my
There's a backlight button. On the button says backlight. You can hit that button. There we go. That's everybody. Everybody but Amanda. And that's how it's done. Crotch cam. Wow, 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 wow. In Toronto to head to Niagara Falls.
Woohoo! Everybody?
More
Everybody!
accurately, Niagara on the lake. Off to Fort Henry.
Yippee skippy.
So, this is the away team's first mission in a while, right?
No, with you.
With me. Okay.
Catalog the trip. Cap vlog. Start date.
What? Straight through it down to the garden.
Day before Victoria Day. Or May Day.
Mayday,
We-
Mayday. I'm getting
We're
really
heading
scared
out
now.
to explore Fort George, which is the Niagara of the Lake. Wow. Cut.
Leaving.
Cut.
Okay. I am the documentarian for the trip, Tarian. And I'm going to be working the camera in case I'm not available. Randy will.
Hi.
Because I'm scared of ghosts.
I'll look after her.
Jeff, will you protect me?
Sure.
Okay. I'm so scared.
I'm sorry, not as good.
If you were a hot dog.
And you were hungry, would you eat yourself?
Is that supposed to scare you?
Did you just what?
Let's walk back out to the road and fuck that. Like some sort of Australian that's been fucked by a dingo. Like,
I don't know.
right, I'll be honest.
I don't know what it is. You'd like it though.
No, I said no.
You'd like it though.
No, I said no.
You'd like it though.
No, I said no.
You'd like it though.
No, I said no. 1. Hello. Hello.
Now, if you continue your ghost hunt down Main Street, Niagara Lake, you'll of course pass the Prince of Wales Hotel, right on the main corner there. Don't know if anybody happens to be staying at Prince of Wales.
Oh man.
Oh fuck, it smells like fucking sulfur.
Don't fuck with the driver.
No, that's about it.
Don't pull on Brad's hair when he's driving.
He doesn't like that.
Don't fuck with the driver.
Oh.
This is why we were laughing so hard earlier.
I'm just gonna pull really close to this woman right behind. Oh! She's slamming on the brakes. She doesn't know how to drive. She's slamming on the brakes right in front. You don't do that. Oh, but I'm slamming on the brakes.
Now when you pull in behind someone really, really close, fuck her.
Bitch, that's what she said.
Then behind.
Then he called her a bitch.
And that's how it's done.
I never had a chance to thank you.
And you never will. Ow! Alright.
That's a wrap.